Well, hello all. We're indoors today because the heat was so hot in California. It made a big low pressure system over the California state and Nevada and drew in all the moisture off the ocean. And now it's drizzling and raining out at the beginning of September. How unusual. Very strange weather indeed. But let's do an interesting video today. One thing I wanted to point out is that Biden's infrastructure report came out, and unfortunately it's pushing for privatization of water. It really is pushing for that. You know, Biden's becoming quite a Republican, isn't he? The worst thing we could have happen is another Flint, Michigan here in the U.S., where private industry goes and looks for the cheapest water and charges you so much money for the water. It's been proven over and over that public water works is far superior than private water works. You don't get these outrageous water bills, and you don't end up with Flint, Michigan water disasters like you do with privatization. But let's go ahead and do the video. Well, let's talk about what's happening with the oceans. Ocean fish stocks on the verge of collapse, a new report says. Already, small fisheries in poor countries, they are turning ever more destructive technology. So the less fish there are, the more they end up with turning to more destructive fishing. Trawlers, gill nets, and seine net fishing is now taking over where more sustainable fishing used to be. Look at the tuna caught in the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, look at what the tuna look like today that are caught. So much smaller than they used to be. The increase in ocean temperatures has led to new toxic organisms and algae blooms that poison fish and can even make humans sick if consumed. Many species are moving out of their natural habitat towards the poles in search of cooler water. The full extent of human fishing activity may have been greatly underestimated for decades. What about bycatch and illegal fishing? Now, bycatch is when they're going for shrimp and everything else that's caught is thrown back in the sea dead. So you end up with something like for every shrimp that they catch, they end up with tons of dead fish, and anything that they goes with, they trawl for them. The trawlers can raise or lower their nets. They can scrape the bottom and scrape everything up, and everything that isn't a shrimp is thrown back into the ocean dead, and the seagulls get to have it. The report found catches between 1950 and 2010 may have been up to 50% higher than data reported to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. An estimated 70% of fish populations are fully used or overused or in crisis as a result of overfishing and warmer waters. Industrial fishing fleets, mostly from developed countries, are largely responsible for the destruction of the marine food chain. The more these industrial fishing fleets take over the oceans, the less fish there are in the oceans. According to all the research is finding, is that these industries, they can lower or raise their nets to go after the exact place where fish are, and are causing great disasters in the ocean. How long before the oceans are empty of fish because of industrial fishing fleets? Why are people eating fish out of the ocean when many countries are dumping toxic waste into the oceans, such as mercury and radioactive waste, such as medical waste, Fukushima water waste, you name it, it's being thrown into the ocean, and then these fish swim through it and become contaminated themselves, and then they're caught and fed to you. So anybody eating these fish have got to be insane, or just don't care about their health or what they die of, whether it be slow radiation poisoning or cancer or liver disease or anything else. it's probably because you've been eating fish out of the ocean. I've been hearing don't eat the fish out of the ocean since the 70s, when mercury was a bad thing and the tuna was being overfished so severely that the people in the 70s noticed that they're so much smaller than the fish from the 60s and 50s, and now they're just tiny in comparison. They're not allowed to grow and become adult fish, and that's something that we're seeing all over the planet, that trees are not allowed to grow all the way up to maturity. So unfortunately the oceans are suffering the same plight as the forests, and everything else that grows natural has become smaller and smaller because the humans are forever harvesting smaller and smaller animals, fish, and plant life. So, what's your thoughts on this? Let me know what you think, and hopefully everything's going better where you are. The temperature here in the U.S. has greatly downgraded since the hurricane, and it looks like the hot days of August are over. Whew. I tell you, it was a boiler this summer, as we knew it would be, as it will be next summer and the summer after that. Each summer will get a little hotter and a little more disastrous. So, on that pleasant, lovely note, I appreciate any ups, any new subscribers, and definitely your comments. And until next time.